أنا طويل شوي بدي يمكن أعليها لهيدي. أنا بالإذن حأحكي بالإنجليزي اليوم. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, graduates of the class of 2025. I'm deeply honored and privileged to speak with you on this special occasion, and to this graduating class in particular, a resilient class that through their education has endured pandemics, collapses, explosions, wars, every kind of crisis imaginable, and yet made it through. Let us give them the huge round of congratulations and applause that they deserve. But standing here today is also a difficult task, a responsibility I've been thinking about very hard. As commencement speaker, I know I'm supposed to give some career advice or inspirational words and something on resilience and positivity. But I think you can find lots of that on TikTok, on social media. And to ignore the realities of the world that we live in today feels to me both dishonest and unhelpful. Instead, I want this speech to be true to the world as it is, but complicity in the face of Israel's inhumanity, genocide, and total destruction of Gaza. We watch as the logic of might makes right prevails over empathy and human decency. Meanwhile, the gap between the rich and the poor grows ever wider. Unchecked capitalism extracts profits at the expense of workers, communities, and the environment. Billion people. This number has barely changed in 35 years, whereas the wealth of billionaires grows by $8 billion every day. $8 billion. And the governments who are supposed to work for the interests of us, the people, they increasingly serve the interests of the wealthy instead. At the same time, we face existential threats from artificial intelligence and climate change. Every year, the earth gets hotter and pollution worsens as companies exploit our natural resources, breaking down our mountains, dumping toxins into our seas. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence is advancing rapidly, threatening millions of jobs in the knowledge economy, from coding to finance and from law to marketing. The CEO of Anthropic, one of the world's leading artificial intelligence companies, warned that AI could wipe out half of all entry-level knowledge jobs just in the next few years and push unemployment up to 10 to 20%. I'm sure this is not what they were excited for me to speak about. I'm sorry إذا صرت مثل ورقة ناوي شوي بس I promise ما حتضل مثل ورقة الناوي. For me, the struggle against these systems of oppression we face today, it's not philosophical or abstract. It's personal. I've been deeply engaged with it throughout my career, ever since my graduation 20 years ago. After earning my BA and MBA in Yale, I worked in consulting and finance, but soon grew disillusioned with jobs where profit was the only objective. So in 2009, I packed my bags, and like so many Lebanese, I returned from the US to Lebanon, driven by the dream of building a better country, and excited by the tech innovations that promise to transform our lives for the better. It was then that we launched ArabNet as a social business, aiming not just to make profit, but to create impact. We organized the first conferences for tech and startups in the region, the first ever pitch competitions, connecting entrepreneurs with investors, empowering them, and shedding light on brilliant innovations from our region. We worked against the odds to build a better ecosystem. Political instability in our region made our work unpredictable and slow. We saw corruption and favoritism in how contracts were awarded. And in these politically charged times, we sometimes lost business just because we were Lebanese. Despite all of this, we prevailed. And over a decade, we helped hundreds of startups gain exposure and funding, brought thousands of speakers to share their expertise and insights. We hired and trained more than 100 young people, many from humble backgrounds, more than half of them women, setting them up for careers in a growing industry. Now this brings us today, where we meet. Like so many of you, I'm sure, I've felt the challenges of the world weigh heavily on me in recent times. During the war last winter, I traveled across Southeast Asia, trekking endlessly in Thailand and Vietnam, meeting people from all walks of life who felt the same way. Financiers and business executives who had left their personal goals in an exchange for bigger missions. I threw myself into making music, into taking care of my health, and building a tight-knit community of like-minded friends to regain my strength. Because to see the glass half full, first we must help ourselves and fill our own cup. And although at many points I almost gave up, here's what I want to say to you today. It's always darkest before the dawn. As the old systems wither away, your generation has a unique opportunity to shape the future at this pivotal moment in time. How, you might ask, these massive forces? Well, so far, some of the challenges are being met with corporate social responsibility, which ticks the boxes, fine. It's good for PR, but not enough impact. What we need instead is a radical transformation, a total overhaul of our economic systems and how values is measured and shared, so that it works for the many and not the few. First, we cannot advance by chasing personal gains alone. We need to lean into our compassion and our shared humanity, understanding that the war in Gaza is linked to the struggle of farmers in Africa and immigrant construction workers in America, the struggle of the oppressed against entrenched systems of power and greed. To face these forces, we must come together. Second, we must live and lead with our values, even when it costs us, sacrificing comfort by boycotting unethical companies and giving up some profits to pay fair wages and protect the environment. The cost of ethics has never been higher, but the need has never been greater. Third, we must raise our voice and speak truth to power, refuse to be silenced. The system seeks to dominate us by destroying our hope and our voice. Fourth, we must demand sustainability and accountability from our leaders, peers, companies, rejecting the mindset of profit at all costs and understanding that we are part of a social fabric and an ecosystem that is only as strong as its weakest link. Fifth, we must have clarity to see through the propaganda and distractions, to resist the false promises of consumerism. Because while money is important, yes, it is important, a meaningful life was never about excessive wealth or things, but taking care of ourselves, our communities, living purposefully, serving those less fortunate. It's finding joy in nature, in beauty, creativity, movement, family, love. AI holds the promise for an era of abundance, curing diseases, driving scientific discoveries, and easing our lives. But this transformation must serve the public, with its benefits shared broadly, not for the few. We indeed stand at a turning point, and your generation can truly change course, addressing inequality, political failure, climate change, and artificial intelligence. I'm not saying it will be easy or comfortable. And honestly, some days feel so dark that it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But I often remind myself in those moments of the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. The arc of the moral history is long. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Most importantly, if any generation can transform the world, it is yours. You see through the propaganda, refuse to be silenced, and demand change. You're more connected than ever. Use your education and technology for the greater good. Now, I'm not asking you to give up everything, to become Mother Teresa or Che Guevara. No, go out with ambition. Soar in your careers, build profitable businesses, make money, achieve your potential. But never lose sight of humanity's biggest challenges. Aim not just to succeed yourselves, but to lift up others as well and build a better, more equitable world. These are my 2 cents of wisdom for you today, or I guess after the crisis now, my 1000 lira of wisdom. Class of 2025, I call on you to seize the day to shape a better future for yourselves and for all of us. Thank you and congratulations.